Australian airline Qantas launched its ambitious Project Sunrise in 2017 with the goal of offering commercial passenger flights between Australia's largest cities and London and New York. Test flights began in 2019, but the pandemic has delayed the launch of services. Qantas and other airlines remain confident in the ultra-long-haul business model. But what are the challenges in making it work? And is there a market to support it? Speaking of support, if you haven't already, why not subscribe to our channel? New episodes of Long Haul are posted weekly. In 2019, Qantas drew attention when it operated its first direct flight from Sydney to London. At just over 17,000 kilometres, this significantly exceeded Qantas's current longest route from Perth to London at 14,500 kilometres and Singapore Airlines flight from Singapore to New York at 15,358 kilometres. These 18 to 20 or more hour flights are classified as ultra-long haul, and with the increasing capabilities and efficiency of aircraft, it's an area we're likely to see much more development in. Extremely long flights, though, are not new. There are plenty of examples of long-duration flights before the introduction of jets, although distances covered now are much greater. In fact, Qantas holds the record for the longest commercial flight route. In the early days of aviation, it flew an epic 32 hours 9 minutes from Perth to Ceylon in Sri Lanka with a consolidated Catalina flying boat, and TWA operated the Lockheed Constellation from London to San Francisco with a flight time of over 23 hours. But why is Qantas now looking at ultra-long-haul flights? To reach key cities in Europe and the US, Qantas passengers currently need to fly with stops or take several flights. Direct non-stop flights would be a great bonus and something the airline hopes customers will pay for. In August 2017, Qantas launched Project Sunrise, with the aim of flying non-stop from Australia, including the eastern cities of Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, to cities such as London, Paris and New York. With the project came a request to both Boeing and Airbus to develop an aircraft that could meet this requirement. Qantas wanted an aircraft capable of direct flights, with a 4-class configuration and capacity of around 300 passengers. At present, Boeing's proposal is based on the 777-8 and Airbus's on the A350-1000. Test flights in 2019 took place using a Boeing 787-9 to both New York and London. Towards the end of 2019, though, Qantas selected the A350-1000 as its preferred option for these flights. This will be modified with additional fuel storage and increased maximum takeoff weight. According to Qantas, the engines were a significant factor in the decision, with positive experiences operating the Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines for 2 years previously. Before the pandemic, it was considering an order for 12 aircraft, but it has not yet placed a formal order. Even with the slowdown in 2020 and now into 2021, Qantas remained bullish through late 2020 about its ambitious plans for Project Sunrise. But in February 2021, the airline confirmed that flights would be delayed until at least 2024. CEO Alan Joyce said, "We still want to revisit it at the end of 2021, with the potential of introducing scheduled Project Sunrise flights in 2024 and onwards." However, closed borders remain the biggest challenge to launching longer flights. Until vaccination rates in Australia pick up and there is confidence in borders opening and staying open, long-haul flying will continue to suffer. Financial pressure at Qantas is also a factor. With continuing uncertainty over when international flying will resume, the airline sensibly does not want to be spending and committing to a new project. Looking beyond the pandemic, though, the case for Project Sunrise and ultra-long-haul flying in general remains strong. The main argument for such long flights is, of course, the appeal to passengers. Qantas expects passengers would be willing to pay for such long but direct flights. Currently, the airline's flights to London or the US East Coast cities require stops in Singapore or the West Coast cities, with the exception of London to Perth flights. There are also, of course, plenty of stopover routes possible with other airlines. Ultimately, the success of such long point-to-point flights will be very route-specific. Other airlines, though, challenge their popularity. In an interview with Simple Flying, Qatar Airways CEO Akbar Al Bakr explained, for example, how he didn't see Singapore Airlines' direct flights to New York as a threat. After the route started, passenger volume remained stable on connecting routes, and in his view, many passengers prefer the option of breaking up the journey. Coming out of the pandemic, it seems likely this business case will be even stronger. There is built-up passenger demand for flights from business, leisure and VFR passengers, even on the longest routes. And with travel restrictions likely to remain in place for some time and subject to continuous changes, direct flights will be more attractive to passengers. Minimizing transit points and layovers will lessen the paperwork and tests required and reduce passengers' exposure and chances of coming into contact with the virus. A recent study for the Journal of Air Transport Management supported this, predicting higher seat load factors and yields on ultra-long-haul routes post-COVID. However, there remain challenges to ultra-long-haul flights. While the technical capability of aircraft is hopefully sorted, that is not the only issue with scheduling such long flights. For routes to work commercially for Qantas and other airlines that look at such long routes, there are plenty of considerations. Some of the main ones include oil prices. Fuel prices remain a major factor in long-haul flying. The price of oil has fallen during the pandemic and remains low in 2021. But rising prices have taken their toll on airlines in the past. The increase in price in the years after the launch of the four-engine A380, for example, was a significant factor in its decline. Airlines will minimize risk to some extent through price hedging, and the increased efficiency of the A350 will help in the event of price rises, at least in comparison to fuel-thirsty quad jets. Passenger and crew comfort. While the business case is based on passengers wanting the convenience of direct flights, will they really want to spend 20 or more hours in their seats? Unlike Singapore Airlines with its A350 ULR, Qantas will be operating all four cabins and not just a business-class heavy configuration. Some early ideas from Qantas based on passengers' input included bunk beds, gyms, work and cafe spaces, and even a creche. But as reality hit, the airlines dropped these. Some simpler ideas, such as better noise-cancelling headsets and virtual reality headsets, are more likely to be retained. Cabins will be changed though, hopefully to include some space away from the seats for stretching or relaxation. But new designs have not yet been released. Getting economy right will obviously be key to making it work for passengers. Many would prefer to make a stop than sit in a standard cramped economy cabin for that long. Qantas's media and communications chief Amanda Bulger explained this, saying, "It'll be an entirely new cabin design for each class, a new opportunity to rethink the ideal cabin environment based on the ultra-long-haul nature of the Project Sunrise flights." Passengers and crew on the test flights have been monitored and subject to various experiments with the aim of improving cabin experience. We've seen images of them stretching and being guided through yoga sessions, for example. There has also been plenty of experimentation with menus and appropriate catering. But with 300 passengers on board, how much space will there be for group stretching and yoga sessions? Crew conditions. Pay and work conditions for crew is another consideration in the business case. Scheduling crew for 20-hour flights comes with plenty of challenges. Qantas has said it does not want to use multiple crews for the flights. Pilots started negotiations in 2019, unhappy with previous conditions for direct Perth to London flights. Amongst other concerns, they were not compensated for night flying as on other routes. Qantas at one point was preparing a fallback plan where it would hire crew through a separate employment entity. In March 2020, though, the airline reached an agreement with pilots over pay and work conditions. We've not seen the details, but 85% of pilots have agreed. If the plan remains on track, these 20-hour flights could be operational in a few years. Key to passenger adoption will be the price and the onboard facilities. Are you excited to see these ultra-long-haul flights coming? How do you think Qantas should approach it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe before you go.